Hi, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Backcast, a podcast where I, Adam Hopper, talk to our resident donkey, Braden Ketty, about Batman, the animated series. And this week, we'll be talking about our first Poison Ivy appearance in Pretty Poison. How are you doing today, Brandon?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I've been curious about your thoughts on this episode, and yeah, we got a lot to talk about with. I guess this is Batman's first woman adversary in this.
Yes, it is. And I have to say, I'm glad was my first introduction to Poison Ivy before I went to go see it, because I'm fairly certain I mentioned this on the podcast already that my first live action Batman in the theater was Batman and Robin.
Ah,
So Uma Thurman was Poison Ivy in that movie, but not a great Poison Ivy, but not like none of that movie is any of the actors' faults. Let's put it that way. Like,
no.
because George Clooney is famous for apologizing for that movie, but he only starred in it, so yeah, he got the brunt of it sucks and all this stuff. But he didn't write nor direct that movie, so it's not his fault. The movie fucking sucks.
Did you hear what Clooney apparently does when people come up to him and say that they didn't like Batman and Robin?
You're like, neither did I, or you're right.
He says if you went to go see it in your theater, I will actually take money out of my wallet and give it to you.
And
And it's like a reimbursement.
well, then I actually should meet him then, because I legitimately saw that movie in the theater. That was my
There you
first
go.
movie.
George Clooney owes you
Yeah,
money.
yeah. So yeah, but again, like I get the sentiment, but again, it's not his fault. The movie
No.
sucked. Like he was, acting as given.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as I said, yeah, not to get too sidetracked, yeah, but yes, but even though if I ever think of Poison Ivy, I do think of this outfit or whatever it is, what I think of her, and then this, yeah, because it's definitely my because I didn't read the comics until way later in life, so yeah, so that's definitely my first introduction to. But yeah, because I don't think there was any Batman cartoon. Was she in the Adam West show at all, like Poison Ivy? Or
No,
did she?
but
I
she
don't think
kind
so.
of fit the vibe, really. Like when you
Yeah,
think of it, like
yeah,
those.
yeah, because she's always like the serious, sexy one, really, more than any of the other vixens as they were, I suppose, if you want to go that route.
Well, even for the timing of the setting of the show with the 60s, like people were starting to, look at like the effects of like pollution and like the
Yeah.
hippie movement was kind of
Yeah,
moving
so
around.
yeah. So she definitely could have been like, come from that aspect here, but because I said like, yeah, I never actually watched the. I'm not sure if I said this on the podcast before, but I never watched the. Well, I haven't yet to watch the Adam West show.
You
Surprisingly enough,
real?
that's my one like big Batman like blind spot is that show. I've been meaning to, but just haven't gone around to it yet.
I know what we're doing if we ever get a Patreon going.
Or like after we do the show that might or that might be what gets me to watch it maybe. So we'll see.
There you go.
But yeah, so let's get into this. Yeah, we got that nice title card that we said you liked a few weeks back or whatever with Pretty Poison, which I do enjoy too. It gives that old timey feel, which I think fits into the Batman's parents being killed, like the old, because it was like always like famously like Zorro, so that was always like an old. I always think of that as like an old timey movie. So if I feel that's
Mm.
ties with that, and then also with the aesthetic of the show.
I don't think about that correlation between like the Zorro stuff, but yeah, it does count when you make that connection. I'm like, you know what? There is some resemblance to that kind of aesthetic.
And so I guess is another like doc question when he shows up, but like, is it Zorro in every like instance, or is it just like the movies as a whole? Uh,
Oh, sorry, were you asking me if I knew?
yeah, yeah,
Um, oh, like I think for that kind of noir vibe, like that Art Deco kind of noir kind of marriage that they're going for a tone. I think that it works.
but
Yeah,
is it every instance of his parents getting killed? Is it always Zorro, or is it
that's In most cases, well, Batman Begins is the opera, but
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that's right.
I will make one note that they kind of did a very timely thing because do you remember the Joker movie?
The Joaquin Phoenix one.
Yeah. Did you
I
notice the movie that they
I
came out of?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't? Okay, then I'm not saying it.
Oh yeah, I do. Like for that movie, I don't care about spoilers or say it.
Okay.
What movie is it?
It's Zorro the Gay Blade.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's like what's his name? George Hamilton, I want to say. I'm probably getting the name wrong, but it's an actual movie. It's
Yeah,
George
yeah.
Hamilton playing a gay version of Zorro, and that's the movie they walk out of. So I'm wondering if the Batman that's going to grow up in that universe is a little bit more flamboyant.
Oh yeah, so it's like a comedy western.
Mhm.
George Hamilton, yeah. Yeah, that name does sound familiar. But yeah, but yeah, so this movie starts off with another instance of Harvey Dent, which I'm liking with this show that they're actually showing like Harvey Dent just being like Harvey Dent and not like as just him as the district attorney and not being like not yet at least because I can't remember what happens next coming up, but like he's not like tormented like with like Two-Face being like kind of like almost at the surface, bubbling under from the surface sort of thing. Yeah, so he's just Harvey Dent actually just being Harvey Dent, the district attorney and stuff. So he's like they're like breaking ground for like just is it a specific penitentiary? Was it like a famous one, or is it just a penitentiary that they're building on that land by the river there?
I think it's
Did you?
Stonegate Prison, which
Oh,
is
is it
like their
Stonegate?
version of Blackgate.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, I
Okay.
I love that you get to see Harvey kind of in this politician kind of thing, and there's so much I think unintentional humor to it because do you remember what he said? It was like this is for a better, safer Gotham, and I just laughed it behind my like behind my mouth and just going like, oh, okay, buddy. And then sure enough, it cuts to a better, safer Gotham when it's like getting into the present day telling of the story, and it's immediately like this newly built prison immediately has a breakout.
And it wasn't like a big character, it was just some guy like that was breaking out.
Yeah, it's just some random convict.
Yeah.
But one thing we should make mention of before we jump out of the that kind of flashback is that they show a Rose kind of being dug out of the dirt, and then it cuts to the scene of them like talking about like them digging ground into this new prison development.
Before we get too deep into episode proper, we should probably just talk about the episode itself. That is, the episode title is Pretty Poison, which aired as September 14th, 1992, which is a Monday. So do you remember what you're doing September 14th, 1992 on a Monday?
Um, Probably learning to walk.
Learn to walk, yeah.
Because I was
Yeah,
I'm a 1990 born.
yeah, so as per the last two of these, this was grade eight for me. Second week of school, I think, for me, for grade eight. Directed by Boyd Kirkland. And the story was by Paul Dini. I think this is our first Paul Dini episode, I think.
I think you're right.
So I think he does ends up doing like a good chunk of the show itself. And I think Paul Dini that's credited for creating entirely.
I'm pretty sure, yeah,
Or
he was responsible
yeah,
for it and a lot
yeah,
of the other background stuff for the
or
show.
yeah, or at least a co-creator on it, which I'm pretty sure we get into when she shows up. Because yeah, if people who somehow don't know it, this show is the where Harley first shows up, and I think it's Renee Montoya that is originally from as well.
Yep.
Which I was about to say, like this episode is the first appearance of the original character Renee Montoya.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, teleplay by Tom Ruger and music by Shirley Walker. And yeah, as I said, this is the fifth episode to be produced, but it was the ninth episode to air. Thankfully, for this episode at least, I don't think we saw any real big continuity issues with that for that last couple episodes worth, it being produced earlier but airing later on, which is good because it was just origin episode of Poison Ivy.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah, and we
so
get to see a little bit of Harvey Dent kind of before he has his accident and becomes Two-Face. So you get a little bit more meaning to the character before he has his ultimate tragedy. But yeah, he so you get Harvey waiting for Bruce with new girlfriend Pamela Isley, no relation, wink. You get them waiting by the restaurant while they're talking about Bruce. I love this exchange while they're talking about Bruce and just like all these like ironic parallels. They're saying like he's always like light on his feet or something. That's probably
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like not exactly what they said, but you know what I'm saying? Like all
yeah,
these
yeah,
things of, you know,
yeah. Because as random person escapes that penitentiary, yeah, it cuts to them in the restaurant. Like, finds out they're waiting for Bruce, and then as the helicopter is leaving, we cut to Commissioner Gordon, and I got the police station saying there's like escape, an air escape. So they're coming this way. So they got another Commissioner Gordon running out of the office, and then like a gag that they cut to a few times in this episode is like with everyone running out, you see Harvey Bullock. I actually remembered his name this time because I actually in my notes I actually have it out in because we actually saw Harvey Dent, which I'm think a couple episodes ago is we figured out that's why I keep on having mental block with it, but it's Bullock, so I actually remembered. Yeah, yeah,
we
he
could blame DC Comics for that.
too many Harveys. Harvey Dent runs with all the cops running out of the office, and he runs back and grabs a donut, which he does like two, I think, or two or three times. But it made me think of. Did you ever watch the Bond animated series?
Only like brief clips of it.
Yeah, this version of Harvey Bullock. I'm not sure if like his character design was the same in the comics or not. Like, but his character design reminded me of Sam of Sam and Twitch, the two cops in
Oh
the
yeah.
Spawn thing. And in one episode, like they were saying like something they had to be out of their group at the police station late because Spawn killed a bunch of guys and shit's gonna they got to be there for a while or whatever. And he was saying like, all right, grab me some coffee and my donuts. And then Twitch was like, your usual order of 2 dozen. He's like, Sam was like, no, like, I'm on a diet. 1 dozen. You know I'm on a diet or something like that. So
Imagine what like Bullock's organs must look like that
oh
man going for a colonoscopy. It's
oh
like the doctor's like crossing himself as he's like looking into the like bowels of this man.
it's a whole donut.
He's Diablo.
Yeah, then we as I said, as you were saying, we cut back to the Harvey and Poison Ivy in the restaurant, and as he said there he was kind of talking parallel because they said they were waiting on Bruce, so he was like, oh, he's always late doing business, and then he's like, oh, he's late on his feet, and just that's where he just happened to do the back grapple onto the helicopter he's flying, and then hey, he's like, oh, yeah, I can't remember what the exact wording was. You see like that him chasing after him and all, and then like jumping after him and taking him down or whatever. And then that's where like Commissioner Gordon and Harvey show up and they're like, "Hey, freeze!" And then that's where Batman runs away. Oh yeah, and this thing was what always made me laugh because I think in an earlier episode, like this isn't really scary Batman. But like the one part where it's like it showed the criminal in the helicopter, and then like it just kind of pans over to like a Batman just showing up outside the window, and he's like, ah, and that made me fucking laugh so much because it was like the one attempt of being that of them trying to do like a Batman jump scare, but it just did the opposite effect and just made me laugh really hard.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, sup, bro. But yeah, you get after that Bruce like running late to catch up with Harvey and Pamela at the restaurant. Yeah, did you notice by the way that Harvey's eating a salad with a knife and fork? It's like clear indication that this man already has, you know, mental psychosis problems.
And also, as we already all know, you don't win friends with salad, especially with a knife.
Oh, I just realized he's well, okay. I made the joke of Pamela Isley, no relation. So I think any listener who doesn't already know the character has figured out by no stretch of the imagination that there's a connection between Pam Isley and Poison Ivy. So he's eating salad in front of Poison Ivy.
Oh yeah,
So she's got to be really holding herself on a leash there, just like, yeah, that's right.
yeah,
You keep
they,
chewing. Yeah, you get yourself a second. Yeah, you son
yeah.
of a
There's no shot of him like stabbing him with a fork and then like putting it in his mouth, and she's just like like bubbling or something. So
yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. you get them talking about like little things, and then Pam has to leave, and that's when she openly French kisses Harvey in front of Bruce. Like she is sticking her tongue down that man's throat.
Yeah, I know it's
And,
funny. And even Bruce is like doing the awkward don't stare at them as they're kissing for way too long in a public in a restaurant setting. Not to dismiss public displays of affection, but hey, you're in a sit down restaurant, have a tiny bit of class, and just be a little peck and be like, hey, save some for later, sort of thing.
yeah. And then she's walking away, and this is where I made the note of, okay, how many? There's no such thing in one of Bruce Timm and Paul Dini's cartoons as an ugly woman. Like when I say that every woman in this show is drawn sexy, I mean, dang. Like this woman walks away, like you can practically hear the saxophone music, jazz, like as she's walking.
Well, actually, and they even have like one of the other restaurant patrons, like a dude, like on her left, does check her out.
Yeah,
As I think with this, even with the title of the episode, might suggest that like Poison Ivy is like the probably like the sexy the quote unquote the sexy one of the women Batman villains, Batman rogues.
yeah. She probably
Yeah,
has like pheromones. Like I think
yeah,
that's one of her base
oh yeah, oh
powers,
yeah,
but
oh yeah, oh
I
yeah. I
don't think
think
they're necessary in this shot.
yeah. So like especially with Poison Ivy as a whole, like you probably don't need them that much as much as she probably relies on them sometimes.
Yeah. Now I made mention of this to you that originally they were gonna have Al Pacino voice Harvey Dent. So when he's walking
Hooah!
away, yeah, hooah. When she's walking away, Harvey's going that, like he's gonna propose to her. And Bruce is like, "Are you crazy?" I'm just picturing him going, "Bruce, have you seen her? She's got a
Great
nice ass.
ass.
I got my head up."
And yeah, and I always like the story behind that. What's his face that he was talking to, whatever why he looked so surprised is that they never like rehearsed him doing it, you know, so loud and like outrageous and stuff. So he was like, the shock in my face was that, like I was actually shocked. So that was zero acting on my face at all. I was actually scared when that happened.
Yeah. Plus all the cocaine that they were doing during the
Oh,
set.
oh
Like,
yeah, that shot was 100% cocaine. Yeah, but
yeah, yeah. It explains a lot when you rewatch the movie. It's like, oh, okay.
yeah, but after she walks off all, even though it feels weird saying it for a cartoon, she walks off all sexfully, like whatnot. That's and Harvey says he's gonna propose and whatnot. That's where he happens to pass out into his food, and the
Yeah, it
next
just
thing.
goes face into the like chocolate like souffle or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is souffle because they bring in the bad accent French guy, French chef to be like, what'd you put in the souffle?
Chocolat. Yeah, you got when they cut to that, you get like Bullock just like rabid dog interrogating this, and like he's actually like drooling and foaming at the
Yeah,
mouth of
yeah,
like
yeah,
how
yeah, yeah,
angry he is.
yeah. He's playing like bad cop to nobody's good cop. He's just like screaming
Exactly.
at,
It's just like,
like
Harvey,
trying
I
to
think I think we need to sign you up for a psych evaluation.
and yeah, they seem a little protective. Like if it was like another cop, like in the hospital, I understand like why they're rushing off, but like I thought like cops and lawyers were like famously hating each other, and I thought
Well, not just that, but like when
like
Gordon
that like
gets the
or I guess
call,
yeah these like the probably the district attorney's like being poisoned or whatever happened. They run off. Yeah.
yeah, he is just like knee-jerk reaction, just like, oh my gosh, and like calls all these people. They don't even know he's poisoned yet. All they
Oh
know
yeah.
is that he's in a coma.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And like
Yeah, they do say coma initially. Yeah,
they don't
but I
find out
got
until they get to the hospital.
but I guess like it does like set up that or like have you seen that like from like the earlier episode that like Harvey Dent and Commissioner Gordon and like Bruce Wayne, Batman as Bruce Wayne are friends. But yeah, but I always thought that yeah, cops and lawyers were always like famously like stereotypically supposed to hate each other.
Mhm.
So
I,
yeah,
I
so
think with
it's
defense lawyers, they are with the prosecution.
yeah,
They're maybe a bit. friendlier.
so if it was like, yeah, so I guess I'm saying if it was a Commissioner Gordon acting the way that Harvey was acting, it would make sense. By the way, but but Harvey and Commissioner Gordon are always like famously like don't see eye to eye sort of thing. So I don't see Harvey acting this way, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like if it was Commissioner Gordon, it would make more sense, I think, when
Yeah.
he's like playing like the bad cop or whatever. And I guess Harvey should be like good, being there playing like the good cop in the scenario.
Or someone, because
Yeah,
it's
yes,
like
yeah, yeah,
otherwise
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
police
anybody.
brutality.
Yeah, which just seemed like it seemed a bit out of place for that what this cartoon's going for, I guess. But yeah, so
Yeah, there.
they go through a few of the people making like that because they get to like the bus boy or whatever. He's like, oh, I'm just washing the dishes or whatever, and then like the souffle guy is just doing like the bad French accent, like doing the what he put in the stuff, and like and it's vanilla. And I don't know
Yeah.
why I didn't do a French accent there, but I think it would probably be best for me not to do a French accent because yeah, I don't think anybody wants me to wants to hear me try and do a French accent.
We're Canadian. We're supposed to be able to speak fluent French. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's what,
we're
10% of our population.
yeah, what we're also like Central Ontario like Canadians, so like we this part we're all supposed to hate Quebec, so sort of thing. So
It's okay. They hate us too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, see, exactly. Yeah, so that's exactly our mentality of
Sorry, Quebec
the
listeners. You know it's true. Yeah, they
see
go to the hospital and they.
see
Sorry.
that see this is why we hate them. They hate us. You don't respect our culture. Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah, they go to the hospital and they're talking, like what's happened to him. The doctors reveals like he's been poisoned, and Bruce discreetly lifts a sample of Harvey's blood from
Yeah,
the
just
lab and throws
yeah,
it
just
back to.
flat out steals from the hospital as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, well, not only that, but like this is his best friend, or so like he claims. You better hope that's not the only blood sample that they have, or you kind of just handed Harvey his death warrant. Like, yeah, I know you're a scientist. I know that you're like well educated and well read on this kind of stuff. But if that is their only sample, you are
Well,
really chancing on like I know smarter than the doctors.
Harvey's right there. They can get more. It's not like he's like he like vanished and they can't get more samples from him if they're like, hey, where the fuck the sample goes? Because he's even in the best hospital in the world. They're gonna lose a sample every so often. So he's right there.
I actually read
Yeah.
up most poisons can be detected in both your blood or your urine. So now I'm picturing the doctor just seeing like we lost the blood sample. All right, let's get the catheter, shove it up there.
Get me his pee.
He
Get me his
immediately
pee.
wakes up like
So then we go ahead cut to like Batman in the Batcave, and they figure out that it's the wild thorny rose. And
mhm,
then and then Alfred says like after they figure it out, they built it because what they were trying to figure out to get the antidote from it, and he's like, I'll get it from the arboretum or wherever the fuck. But it was like this I always felt this like Alfred comes up with that the flower's been in sink for 5 years, but that
mhm.
feels more like something Batman would know because he's that just has like the knows everything about everything sort of thing. So if it was like, so if you get poison from it, you should know like where it come from sort of thing. So unless like Alfred's like a secret botanist that we don't know about, that like how the fuck did Alfred know that it's been extinct and not Batman?
You don't know what I do outside of work, Master Bruce. You think that garden takes care of itself?
Unless that was a sort of thing that he like knows as being like a butler is don't put the poison rose into your flower arrangements for like your for the people that you look after sort of thing maybe. So he's like, okay, I know not to pick that flower. So like, okay, it's been extinct for 5 years, so I know to don't have to worry about not putting it in my flower arrangements for like the girls I drive home after, Bruce Wayne sends them home not to have to do Batman things or whatever.
Yeah, just hands him like a poisonous bouquet of flowers. And then the girl comes knocking, and it's like, yeah, Bruce Wayne, you killed my dog. My dog ate the flowers that your butler sent. Alfred's just standing there like, oh, great. But yeah, you
Yeah.
get Alfred going that this plant's been extinct for 5 years, which means there's no antidote. Cut to Batman immediately going to the computer to confirm it, while Alfred's standing right there. It's like, did I stutter, Master Bruce?
It's like, oh yeah, or the very least, like as they're talking about it, like that the computer came up with that, and they're like, oh, that's too bad. Or like I heard them talking about the flower, then that pops up or whatever as it's calculating. But yeah, like out of the three things that are there, Alfred, the Bat computer, and Batman,
Mhm.
the one that info comes from the one that you wouldn't think it would come from.
Yeah. And Batman
But
still has to reconfirm it.
yeah,
It's like, I
yeah,
don't know
yeah,
if I'm going to
yeah, yeah,
wager
yeah.
this on my butler.
Yeah, so yeah. So then we come back to Bruce and Brucey and Harvey at the hospital, and it looks like he's like semi-conscious or whatever. And then Pamela shows up and then talks about like, oh yeah, you guys are friends and blah blah blah, and then goes in for like a kiss and hug, but Bruce dodges it and just does a hug, and then they kind of see that's him remembering that they had their fucking very awkward and long makeout section before he collapses. So like I want to see like as Batman why you would have made that connection beforehand. Because if it was just like a quick kiss and then they left off, like yeah, I can see him not putting that together. But it was like a very like they even made mention of him looking away and being like all awkward as they fucking awkwardly made out at the table. So like, why did it take him
Oh,
this
yeah.
long? Why did it take him this so long to remember? Like, hey, he got poisoned. Obviously, it
Yeah.
wasn't. Obviously, it wasn't. Anyway, like you probably would have looked over the police files after they interviewed everybody at the police station about like that would have at least might have come in contact with his food. Like obviously it wasn't you that poisoned him by accident or like on purpose and you forgot. So the only other person there was Pamela. Why not think about the awkward and long makeout session?
And you know
Or
that kiss is like seared into his brain.
yeah,
Like he's looking embarrassed, but at the same time, you know Bruce is going, when's someone gonna French kiss me? When is it
wait,
my time?
when's Catwoman going to show up so I get to make out with somebody?
Yeah. I have needs.
Yeah. So yeah. So by that point, that makes him think of that kiss, and that's probably what might have what poisoned Harvey. So I think he like does he go back to the Batcave and does like looks up Pamela and finds out that's she has like the work at the cosmetic company and whatnot,
Yeah, so he
or does
asks
he?
Alfred to
Okay,
look into her history, and
okay,
that's where he realizes that she's got a PhD in botany, and yeah, she's employed by a cosmetics company working on perfumes and stuff. So that yeah, she
okay.
probably does have like pheromones that would make
Yeah,
her an
and the
army.
very not obvious perfume name Nightshade because isn't that like isn't that a very poisonous plant of some sort or something or is that
Yeah,
just for movies? How, like if you're trying to be like undercover and poison people, don't call your the perfume you're advertising as a poisonous plant Nightshade.
when you realize that Scarecrow actually went to better attempts to like bury the history of his connection than Pam Isley did, it's like, I mean, there's that old saying of like, some serial killers just kind of want to be caught, but I don't know. I think that she's like, I'd rather just kind of gloat over his dead body kind of thing. Yeah, he goes to confront Isley at the greenhouse, and she's got her laboratory there, and that's when he's seized by a gigantic Venus flytrap that's like big enough to like grab him like a boa constrictor. And Isley appears in her costume and calls herself Poison Ivy and reveals, yeah, she poisoned Harvey in retaliation for plowing up the plants that were on the grounds of what Stonegate's on top of.
Yeah,
And
the flowers that they were digging up at the beginning of the episode there.
yeah, and that she actually saved the one of those roses left. So like it was on the verge of extinction,
Yeah.
and she managed to grab the
Yeah,
last one.
and harken back to what you're saying about the blood sample. Like at one point after Batman escapes the what movie is that from? Like that has like the huge Venus flytrap. Like
Oh, Jumanji?
No, like, or I was thinking, no, like Rick Moranis, so like pet,
Oh,
the Pet Shop House of Horrors or something or whatever the fuck that movie is.
I want to say
Uh,
Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah,
Little, yeah, yeah, that's it. The Little Shop of Horrors,
yeah,
yeah. The Little Shop of Horrors esque Venus flytrap. Yeah, he gets away from that, and then to do that, he grabs the one flower. But as he said, with the blood sample, you would hope that's she saved it from extinction. You would have more than one plant of it. Like you'd have probably like at least save some seeds from it, so you can plant more later, and have like a garden out back full of them, so that if you out for a couple days, go on a holiday, or get put in Arkham, if you forget to water for a week, you're the flower you save from extinction is not gonna fucking die. So
yeah. For the
like
queen of all plant life, I don't think she
yeah,
understands how plants work.
yeah, so that yeah, so I guess for the sake of story, Batman wouldn't have anything to threaten her with, but like you think she'd have more than just the one plant, especially after because I would because it shows like what is it, like 5 years or something like that,
Yeah,
or however long it takes to build a prison. But there's probably like mob work in there too, so they probably drag their feet so they can get more money from it. So it probably took as long as possible. So yeah, so after like what, like 2 to 5 years, more than one plant.
yeah. You'd think that you'd have at least a couple buds going.
Or she'd have
Yeah,
her own version of that vault in the Arctic Circle, where they have all like the samples of like every plant species on Earth. So if there's some sort of cataclysmic event, they can still like replant stuff. Vault is called. She thinks she'd have her own version of that somewhere.
you'd think, yeah, like a backup kind of like emergency bunker, but specifically for plants.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, imagine like this being like the case of, going back to like my thing of embarrassing ways for Batman to die. Imagine Batman dies by via Venus flytrap. Like they're just covered in mucus and stuff. It's like the coroner just like, ugh. Yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah,
get poison ivy as this kind of because we've had this thing of the villains being like a mirror for Batman. And like Batman wants to create a better world, and so does Poison Ivy. But the way Batman wants to do it is by being a protector of innocent people, whereas Poison Ivy just sees everybody as guilty. It's like I'm gonna assume that like before she had whatever accident she had, like this woman grew up on plants. Like I don't even know what Poison Ivy really eats. Maybe she's on like the Jordan Peterson diet of like just nothing but meat, but like I don't know, like at some point like you have to realize like I'm sure that she's kind of gone like anti-vegan, but I think that you have to realize like how much of it is a little bit of hypocrisy.
yeah. And then yeah, she wants to like murder everybody just for like thinking of one plant. That doesn't really balance out too much, I don't think.
Hmm. Yeah, Batman cuts himself free, and you get Ivy shooting at him. I like that crossbow on her wrist, by the way. Like that was
Yeah,
a choice that the animators made, and I'm like, it kind of works. It's kind of her style.
yeah. It seems like a very like something like Green Arrow would have, I would think.
Hmm. And while they're fighting around, there's a lamp that gets knocked over and starts a fire. Ivy goes to the rose and tries to run away. Batman nearly saves her from one of the other lamps falling, and they get on the edge of the trap door over a pit of spiked plants. So you get her like just these booby traps. Like I'm assuming if somebody came knocking, not just Batman, but like anybody was starting to get sus, that's where she's getting ready to finish him off, and Batman shows that he's got the rose in his other hand. He's pretty much going like, yeah, kind of like in the similar vein of Alfred Molina's character in Raiders, kind of like, throw me the idol, I throw you the whip. So he's
I
like,
know.
give me the rose, I'll give you the rose if you give me the antidote. And she just kind of says, all right, fine. And as soon as she gets hold of the plant, she forgets about everything else. Batman gets him out of the greenhouse, and the fire destroys all the rest of the plants. And we get back to Harvey in the hospital where they're finally giving him the antidote.
So yeah, so I guess Batman uses like the one flower to use the get the antidote. And I always forget that like Alfred Molina is in that in the Indiana Jones movie because he's like right at the beginning and then he like dies like right away. And then Gimli shows up later on in that movie.
Oh yeah. Gimli's actually John Rhys Davies is in one of these episodes coming up. I'm not going to tell
Uh,
you which one, but he is in one coming up, and I found that out recently.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, he does have a good voice, so I'm not surprised that he does some. Oh wait, is he Maxie Zeus?
No, he should be. That would be
Uh,
pretty good.
then I don't know who he is. Then.
Yeah, I'll point him out when we get to the episode.
Once I hear, I think whatever episode we get to, like once I hear him, I'll recognize his voice because I'm pretty good, really good for picking out voices somehow. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, Bruce.
But
Once they
yes,
hear Harvey, go ahead.
yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say we're just gonna get back into show Harvey waking up in the hospital or already awake. Batman used the one flower to wake him up and tells. Yeah, it doesn't tell Harvey that she's poison ivy, but he's like, she's not for you, so don't pursue it anymore.
Yeah, he's just like pumping his fist in the air. I got my wingman back.
Yeah, just don't look at the news cycle for the next like couple of weeks where she goes through a trial, and don't look at the docket of any of your other coworkers what they're working on, and
Yeah.
everything will be fine. Just don't give her a call.
And you get her cut to Ivy in Stonegate where she's huddling over her rose and vowing to get back at Batman. Why are they letting Poison Ivy have a plant on her cell? Like, okay, so sooner or later we're gonna get to the whole joke of like Arkham Asylum being this revolving door, and I think if I had to explain away, I mean, the suspension of disbelief as to why that is, I think it's really government funding, if anything. Like it's just this poorly run prison, like minimum wage security guards and correctional officers. But I don't know, maybe she like convinced the guards that she's like growing cannabis, and they're just like, free supply, eh?
It's medicinal, I swear. This is
I'm a
1992.
doctor.
Was medicinal marijuana a thing in 1992, or is that later on?
I mean, probably a little bit more underground than like kind of in the public eye. But yeah, I would suspect so. For the 90s, I would suspect so.
And then something I forgot to bring up when at the beginning of the episode when we were talking about when Harvey mentioned that he was going to propose to Pamela, aka Poison Ivy. If they had got married and then Harvey turned into Two-Face, what do you think their celebrity mashup name would have been? Would have been would
Harvey?
have would have been Two Ivy or Poison Face?
I like Poison Face. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, guy. Yeah, so if listeners or tweet at us or X at us, is that how what that is now? Now that Twitter is called X, is it called
Whatever
Xing?
Elon decides it is for the
No, yeah,
week.
or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Tweet at us like at Beyond Batman. I think is handle. Yeah, what do you think their celebrity or their mashup name would have been? What do you like more, Two Ivy or Poison Face? So yes, or you would think there would be like a blade of grass in Poison Ivy's like cell, and that's what she was like kind of talking to because like when she shows up earlier in the episode, you're talking to the plant, so she's talking to one blade of grass in her cell,
Even a
and she
blade of glass or blade of grass would have been more subtle.
yeah where she's like vowing to get back at at Batman and everybody. So yeah, so that is the episode. Well, what did you think of this episode? What would you give this episode out of five poison plants?
I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 poison plants. I think that the animation is really good. I think that they gave Poison Ivy a really good kind of femme fatale kind of vibe, and you get a bit of a understanding of Harvey before he has his
Yeah,
rebirth into becoming Two Face. And yeah, it's a really well put together show. I think, yeah, it definitely has moments where I was seeing them kind of push the boundaries in a bunch of different directions, and yeah, no, I like it.
I think I give it 3.5 poison plants. Yeah, 3.5
Poison
poison
plants.
plants. Yeah, because it was a very good an origin story for Poison Ivy because it got her basic backstory for her that she was like has like a chemistry background, likes plants, and that's pretty much her deal. Is that they actually that prefers plants over people, and that and this episode was a decent. I like this her outfit, I guess you want to say or whatever. Like, this costume because I think when it first came up like earlier in the episode, yeah, like when I think of because this is my first introduction to her that character as because of this cartoon, yeah, that thing when somebody says Poison Ivy, I automatically in my head think of this version of her and this costume and stuff. A couple other of the episodes had Harvey Dent in it, but I don't really remember him really being in the episode because I think he only had a couple lines. But as you said, have more of Harvey Dent before he turns into Two-Face, and it is just Harvey Dent as Harvey Dent instead of battling the other half of him or whatever you want to say, or the true half. Once we get into that later on, so it's just Harvey Dent as Harvey Dent doing Harvey Dent things before he turns evil. Yeah, I don't think we've even seen the coin yet at all.
I think
Like,
we saw it very briefly in on Leather Wings, like he's very casually like
oh, that's
flipping
okay.
on.
Sorry, that's right. Yeah, just probably just like nice little wink to be like, yeah, this is Harvey Dent. Yeah,
Yeah,
like we all know what's coming up later.
yeah. It's more subtle than the you remember the Harvey Dent introduction in Gotham where like he like flips a coin to say like if he's gonna like let this kid who's been like pickpocketing him go or whether he's gonna arrest him, and then basically holds it up to the camera afterward and saying, "Look, it's a two-faced coin." I'm like,
See,
okay,
yeah,
the
get it.
irony is slamming me across the head right now.
This a solid origin episode. Obviously, like Poison Ivy's going to show up more later on, so we got more of her. We'll get more of or Harvey Dent as Harvey Dent, and then some more of him as Two-Face. Because because I think there's at least a few Two-Face episodes, Two-Face instead of like Harvey Dent, yeah, coming up. Then Harvey Bullock being good cop as bad cop for some reason against nobody's good cop.
Yeah.
Decent, solid episode, yeah. But nothing too crazy. So, all right, everybody, that is the episode for this week. Thank everyone for listening to us yammer on for however long it has been. Next week's episode will be the Underdwellers. I do not remember what that episode is. Do you remember watching this episode as it was on, like Poison Ivy episode?
This one I do. Yeah, I remember watching this as a
Yeah,
kid.
I remember like that there being Poison Ivy episodes, but I don't remember this one specific. This may or may not have been the first time watching that. Yeah, follow us as I said, Twitter/X at Beyond Backcast, and on Instagram at Beyond the Backcast, and get the podcast and all the podcast streamers that you listen to, like the Googles and the iTunes and whatnot. And where can we find you on the internet, Braden?
You can find me on Instagram at Alfred is Zaddy. That's
Ooh,
Zaddy.
that Alfred Uzadi. And then you can find me at Stump Chunkman on Instagram. And you can follow and listen to my other podcasts. I do sometimes, like whenever I feel like doing an episode at the Multiverse of Marvel. So you can get that podcast wherever you're listening to this one. And thanks for joining us in the Batcave to talk about Batman the Animated Series at Beyond the Backcast. Goodbye, everybody. Kapow.